It's 4:01, so let's get started. This is the favorite part of the week for me. I hope it's the favorite part of the week for you all as well. So welcome back, colleagues, to KSU's Research with Relevance Friday features. This is our third episode for this fall season, and just to remind everyone who's participating, we have shows lined up every 2 weeks until the end of the semester. And the last time we met, we had both Ice and Tris from engineering gave a great presentation. We learned quite a bit about the 3D printing lab, the equipment they develop, and the students that interact with them. So that was pretty exciting. And even though it was the Friday before Labor Day, which I was chastised for planning such an event on that Friday, and we had over 100 participants that Friday. So that was really encouraging. My name is Phaedra Corso, and I'm the Vice President for Research here at KSU. And you've heard me say these opening remarks before, but the reason why we're doing this is because we're living in the world of a pandemic where we don't get to see each other on a regular basis in person. And so this is a way for us to stay connected as colleagues and for us to learn about the wonderful research that's happening here at KSU. And so I will tell you that this was the president's idea to launch this in the spring of this year, and we're glad to keep it going this fall, and we hope to do it next spring also. So before we get started, I'm going to go through a few housekeeping tips as I usually do. So please, first, let's make sure that everyone's mic is muted until the end when you're asking questions. Second, if you want to focus on a particular speaker today, then there's the 3 dots that you can pin the speaker next to the person's name. And then finally, just to remind you, this episode is being recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel sometime over the weekend. So our schedule for this next hour will include watching a video giving an overview of the work of our featured researcher. And today we have Iván Jorrín. How was that, Iván? Good, right?
Perfect. Perfect.
Thank you. I have done nothing all day except for practice how to say your name in the most beautiful way that I can. I absolutely adore Iván. We have had a lot of occasion to get to know each other over this last year and a half that I've been at KSU, and so we're really excited to feature him today. So if you have a question for what we're going to present, just remind everyone that you can use your chat function if you have that available to you on your computer, or you can chime in at the end. You can raise your hand and we can call on you. All those good ways to participate. So let me give you a little bit of background on Iván. So Iván joined KSU in 2014. He is a professor of educational research in the Department of Secondary and Middle Grades Education, and he serves as the research catalyst in the Bagwell College. And if for those of you who do research, I want us all to start calling ourselves research catalysts because it's just so powerful. He previously worked for 12 years within a transdisciplinary research group at a university in Spain, and I'm not going to attempt to try to pronounce that one correctly. His research was devoted to the development and evaluation of technologies to be used by teachers when doing collaborative learning. His current research focuses on the study and development of models and tools, which we're going to learn about today, to facilitate the teaching and learning of research methodology in social sciences and education. He was recognized for his work with the 2019-2020 KSU Outstanding Research and Creative Activity Award, which I'm sure is well deserved. So we're going to watch the short video now, and before we do, I just want to say a big thanks to Tom Boyle and to Joelle Walls in my office for all the work that they do with our presenters in pulling these videos together. So thank you for that, Tom. Heather, let's go ahead and watch the video.
My name is Iván Jorrín, and I am Professor of Educational Research in the Bagwell College of Education. Have you ever struggled when working in the research design for a study or a grant proposal? Perhaps you had issues when elaborating the methodological chapter of your dissertation. I bet so. Why is it so difficult to teach and learn research methods? These are some of the questions that were coming to my mind after a 3-hour class with my doctoral students in a course on advanced qualitative research methods in the fall of 2014. I was feeling their struggles while having to make decisions among the plethora of philosophical frameworks and methodological approaches existing in the field of educational research. Their struggles were similar to the ones graduate students in my former institutions in Illinois and Spain used to have. Actually, they were pretty close to the ones I felt when doing my own dissertation. Even though my previous research background was in the fields of technology-enhanced learning and computer-supported collaborative learning, at that point I decided to change gears and start researching potential ways of better helping novice researchers and future teachers in generating well-informed research designs. I was deeply interested in finding ways of challenging traditional approaches to the teaching and learning of research methods. I needed to make sure that my students, future teachers, were able to learn how to generate and implement proper research designs for the promotion of effective data-driven decision-making practices at their schools. The day-to-day work of teachers has become increasingly challenging due to the constant reforms, mandated curriculum overhaul, and burden of standardized assessment. Rich subject area and pedagogical knowledge are necessary for effective teachers, but this is no longer sufficient. Teachers must become lifelong multifaceted learners and reflective professionals able to transform their own practice based on systematic analysis. Teachers more than ever need to become vanguard agents in providing rigorous evidence on which to ground education practice. This will only be attainable if we offer them improved methods and tools to enable them to thoroughly analyze their daily practices. In order to find ways of challenging traditional approaches to the teaching and learning of research methods, in 2014, I began a review of literature that soon revealed a number of studies addressing how daunting and frightening the teaching and learning of research methods is. I also found evidence of a clear lack of attention and scarcity of innovation in the teaching of research methods. One night, while in the middle of the literature review process, I was reading an old book from Julio Cortázar called Hopscotch, and the magic happened. I realized that Hopscotch could be the metaphor I was looking for to create a model and a web tool to help the generation of qualitative research designs. At that point, I initiated a research process spanning from fall 2014 to fall 2019. The selection and analysis of over 80 seminal works allow us to identify a number of key components for the development of well-informed research designs. We organized them and built the Hopscotch model. It proposes 9 recursive steps to help the generation of research designs. We decided to use the Hopscotch metaphor since everybody understands this popular transcultural and transcendental playground game that aims at connecting the earth with the sky, the physical world with the world of forms and ideas, theory and practice. The sequence of steps, although visually linear, reinforces the idea of going over each of the steps each time we advance to a new one. In early 2015, we launched a web tool using the Hopscotch metaphor to help bridge the gap between the theory behind the generation of research designs and the actual practice in doing so. The web tool guided users through the steps of Hopscotch, providing multimedia information and resources to help them make informed decisions and respond to the questions posed at each step. In 2017, after having used the web tool for almost 2 years, we conducted a formal evaluation to assess if it was helping users. The results were pretty positive and helped us generate a 2.0 version of the web tool. The new version included enhanced multimedia information, allowed the generation of qualitative, quantitative, and mixed methods designs in both English and Spanish, and also helped the creation of visual representations for 7 types of qualitative designs, 4 types of quantitative, and 4 types of mixed methods designs. One key limitation identified by the users was the lack of social spaces to share and discuss the generated research designs. So we started thinking in the creation of a physical space to use Hopscotch in a face-to-face social fashion. In fall 2019, we launched the Interactive Research Methods Lab in KSU's Bagwell College of Education. It is a natural evolution of Hopscotch that provides students with personalized instruction and practical experience of generating research designs using augmented reality contents generated by our team. The walls of the lab provide an interactive itinerary organized around the 9 steps proposed by Hopscotch. On each step, users are able to write down ideas and make decisions based on the information that is virtually provided by the augmented reality contents. In addition to the physical space, the lab also offers a virtual space with a 360 tour that replicates the experience in the physical space. The virtual lab can be embedded as a resource in Desire to Learn, a learning management system widely used by schools and colleges in Georgia. The current version of Hopscotch has received over 28,000 visits from 6,000 users in 132 different countries, which can be seen as initial proof of its acceptance by the community in the field of research methods. What is even more relevant is that it has been formally used by more than 1,000 doctoral students in research courses taught in 11 universities in the US, Spain, Colombia, Thailand, and China. Moreover, Hopscotch has been used as the methodological basis in 18 doctoral dissertations. In regards to the Interactive Research Methods Lab, we've used it profusely in fall 2019 and spring 2020. For instance, in January 2019, we worked with a group of undergraduate students enrolled in their senior capstone for the Bachelor of Science degree in Human Services in the Welsar College of Health and Human Services. In collaboration with the instructor, we helped them generate research designs to analyze issues affecting the non-profit organizations in which they were conducting their internships. We have also worked with several groups of graduate students. For instance, we help students taking research courses in the doctoral programs in the Bagwell College of Education to develop the research designs for their dissertations. We have also guided the students in building the conceptual frameworks supporting their dissertation studies. Finally, we have also collaborated with faculty. For example, over the summer of 2020, we collaborated with 2 faculty in the Bagwell College of Education who were working on the research design for a grant proposal they were submitting for external funding. Given the success of the Interactive Research Methods Lab, in June 2020, we began working in a more spacious location. You can now find us in room 403 of the Chantal and Tommy Bagwell Education Building on the Kennesaw campus. We have recently added new furniture to enhance the possibilities for interactive and collaborative learning. In fall 2020, we have begun offering our services for KSU units, departments, and colleges interested in taking advantage of this state-of-the-art resource.
Great, thank you. Thank you. So, Iván, you are, I'm guessing, in your space, your physical space right now, and I see you have a colleague there with you. Would you like to introduce her?
Absolutely. Yes, we are in the Interactive Research Methods Lab in the College of Education, and we have one of the lab's team members, Olga Story. She is our graduate librarian, and she is an instrumental piece in what we do here in the lab. I'm sure she will share something. We are keeping the social distancing here, so that's why we are positioned in this way.
Very good. Olga, nice to see you, and we're glad that you're participating in this. And you know, one of the things when Iván and I talked about this earlier this week, I said I would love to see Olga because it shows the importance of our library here at KSU, and we always want to. Yep. So I'm glad you're here. So Iván, tell me, how did you come to KSU? You were an international star, an international student, and now you're here. And I'm just wanting to know what that path was.
Well, in 2008, I got a Fulbright scholarship, and I was able to spend a couple of years working at the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana. And I had the immense pleasure of sharing my office space with April Manson. Dr. April Manson. She was a doctoral student at the time, working with the same professor I was working with. So we became really good friends. And by the end of my stay there, she was hired by KSU in the School of Art and Design. So a couple of years after, we met in a conference and we were having dinner, and I was sitting next to Lynn Stallings, who then became my boss. She was the chair of the Department of Secondary and Middle Grades, and she told me about an open position for a research methodologist. I applied, and here I am. Happy to be here, actually.
Great. That's a great story. And so let's go back in time to the development of Hopscotch. I thought that the video laid out really well where your idea came from. But how did you do it? Like, what kind of internal or external resources did you require to create it?
Okay. Well, at the very beginning, I got an OBPR seed grant from the Office of Research, and that was instrumental in beginning the process of developing Hopscotch. Then in the process, later on, I got a research fellowship from the College of Education, and also the support of my department has been instrumental, both in the development of Hopscotch and the Interactive Research Methods Lab in the last year.
I'm going to come back to kind of future funding needs that you might have, but I want to ask a few other questions first. So one of the things you mentioned in the video was how many students have come through the lab, and I'd love to hear from you, because we're student-centric here at KSU. I'd love to hear from you about some successes of some of your students.
Yeah. So far, we have like 16 or 17 students here who have used Hopscotch as the methodological basis for their dissertations. But let me share with you the story of the very first student who used Hopscotch, actually. He was an international student, graduate student from Colombia, who at the time was working in his dissertation in a doctoral program in a university in Spain. So he came here in 2015 and spent 4 months working with us. So we used Hopscotch to develop the methodology for his dissertation. Then he successfully defended. He got the best dissertation award at his university. And now he's working as the vice provost for academic affairs at the University of El Rosario in Colombia, which is a very good and innovative institution. So I'm very proud of his journey because he was the very first one using Hopscotch.
And is he going, can he use the platform where he is, or have his students use it?
Yes, actually 2 years ago, I was able to visit his university. Actually, we got a small research project. So I went there to present Hopscotch. And actually the initial ideas of the Interactive Research Methods Lab were discussed there while I was visiting their innovation labs. And actually they are now interested in opening a similar lab like this one at their institution. But because of the COVID, we haven't been able to have him here back, but hopefully next semester.
And what about, in addition to the library, what about other collaborators that you might have around campus? Are these just affiliates from Bagwell, or do you have affiliates from other colleges? And what are your plans for the future in terms of interdisciplinary collaboration?
Okay, right now we are 8 people working in the lab, 6 faculty, including Olga, that I already introduced, Ana Vasquez, Rachel Gaines, Jihe Kim, and Mei Ling Chang from the College of Education. We also have Connie Lane. She is our grant specialist here at the College of Education. And we also have Cassiana May, who is our GRA. But right now we are working in new grant proposals. And actually, Olga has been reaching out to some other colleges, because one of the ideas we have is to incorporate artificial intelligence both to Hopscotch and the Interactive Research Methods Lab, and we are going to need collaborators.
So are you working with AI folks here at KSU?
Actually, just last week, Olga contacted a couple of colleagues, and I contacted someone in the Burroughs Institute. So hopefully we'll be able to start collaborating pretty soon.
And what are your plans for the future? If you were if I could give you unlimited resources, or a donor, let's say, could give you unlimited resources, what could you look like in 5 years?
Wow, it's a difficult question, but we are following two different strategies. The very first one has to do with seeking for external federal funding to support our research. Right now, we are trying to get funding. Actually, we are going to submit a grant proposal in November, early November, because we want to develop a version of the Interactive Research Methods Lab for teachers. We want teachers at schools to be able to have their own version of the lab adapted to their needs. A second research strand that we are following has to do with the development of a 3D immersive environment using artificial intelligence to better support the needs of people using the Interactive Research Methods Lab. So to support those initiatives, we are actively seeking for external funding. However, we are also looking for external funding coming from donors interested in what we are doing here. As you can see in the map behind me, we already have over 30,000 users in more than 140 countries all over the world. Many of them, around 1/3 of them, are coming from countries that they don't have the resources we have here. So the philosophy behind what we are doing is based in the open science movement and the democratization of research products. So we would like anybody all over the world to be able to use the resources we have produced for free as an open source tool. So we would like to get external funding to sustain the operations of the lab so we can provide support to those who using the lab, for instance, in Africa or in India or South America. Right now, they can use the resources, but we cannot provide support because we don't have capacity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I can imagine as you grow, I imagine you've probably already hit capacity in terms of the training that you can provide for even internal faculty. Have you ever had, and this is in parentheses almost, but have you ever had a project officer or a program officer from Department of Education come down and see the lab and see the tool?
No, not yet. But actually, that's a great idea, and I think we should have officers coming here, because in order to understand what we do here, it's very important to experience the process here in the lab. So I think that's a great idea, and we'll be in contact to make it happen.
Yeah, I think so. We want to wait until we can travel again, and we can travel some program officers down here, but that's something that you and I need to follow up on. Sure. But if I'm a new faculty, and we have over 100 new faculty here at KSU this year, and I want to let's say write a grant proposal where I want to have a strong research design section of my grant. How do I do that? Do you charge me? What does that process look like?
Okay, so there are like 3 different ways in which, if you're a faculty here at KSU, you can use both Hopscotch and the lab. First of all, you can use, for free, of course, the online resources that we have. You can go to hopscotchmodel.com or irml.kennesaw.edu. And all the resources we have are available for free, and they are self-paced resources. So you can take advantage of what we have in our virtual spaces. Moreover, you can come here during our open hours. Currently, this semester, we have open hours on Mondays and Fridays from 10 to 1. So you can come here, use the resources we have here, check, and there is always one of us here, so we can solve doubts and questions you might have. And then there is the third way of using it. If you need like a more personalized help or support to develop your grant proposal, we are also offering our services for individuals also departments and colleges that are interested in using our services in a very personalized fashion.
That's great. I will remind the people who are listening in to, if you have questions, please feel free to raise a hand or to send your question in by chat, and I will ask the question for you, because I could talk to Iván all afternoon, but we want to make this a little bit more interactive.
Phaedra,
okay.
I forgot to mention one thing.
Tell me.
Those are the 3 ways in which you can use Hopscotch and the lab for your research endeavors. But we also offer support if you are teaching any research-related course and you are interested in embedding our resources in your courses. We also provide that service. And usually what we do is we co-develop lesson plans to be conducted here in the lab or virtually in D2L. And we work with faculty to incorporate that in the syllabus of their courses.
Have you worked with any faculty outside of KSU, maybe within
Yes.
system?
Yes. For instance, one of the examples, I believe it's one of the examples I put on the video, the very beginning. It's with the Wellstar School of Nursing. Students in their senior capstone, they have to conduct an internship in an NGO or a social organization, and they are required to identify an issue that organization is having, following a research-based approach. So we had that group of students here after co-developing a lesson plan with the faculty in charge of that class, and it was an amazing experience. Actually, if you go to the website of the Interactive Research Methods Lab under instructional resources, we published all the lesson plans so faculty can get an idea of the type of activity we can generate here.
In the model itself, I noticed that step 9 said ethics.
Yes.
Just came from an planning meeting for our ethics week, which will be in November. And I'm curious to know what that step entails. I like that it's there and it's at the very end before you finish your design. So what happens there?
Yes, we decided to include ethics, first of all, because it's key for any research study and for any researcher, but many times we forget about that step. Many people believe that the ethical piece of a research design or a research study has to do with applying and getting IRB approval, which is okay. But the problem is what Hopscotch says is that the ethical principles driving your study are transversal to the previous 8 steps. So we have to be ethical when defining and letting our audience understand which is our paradigmatic positioning as researchers. We need to conduct an ethical process when selecting our participants, when building data collection instruments, and of course, when analyzing our data and reporting the findings of our study. Many times in social sciences, the findings are not supporting what we were expecting because we work with people and we have to be particularly ethical when reporting our findings. Mm-hmm. So it's an instrumental step, and that's the reason why it's the final piece of Hopscotch.
Mm-hmm. Great. Yeah, I love it. I think there is a question here that says, asking about the pocket version of Hopscotch.
Okay, so I have here, this is a pocket version of Hopscotch that you can get with you home. And you see that there are some little codes. Those codes are augmented reality codes. So the idea is that with your mobile device, you can scan these codes and you would be interacting with the same contents that we have here in the lab. So students, faculty can take this pocket version of the lab home and use it. And we also have a paper-based version of the pocket version of the lab in our web under instructional resources. Exactly that one. So you can download the pocket version. You can see it on the screen, print it, trim it, and build your own dodecahedron. And actually, if you come here to visit us in our open hours, we will be more than glad to give you one so you can have your own lab.
Love it. Olga, can I ask you a question? I just want to know what is the library's role? What is your role in this, in the lab or in the development of Hopscotch?
Well, resources is a key. Iván is a driving force, and tool he creates drive the whole model, attract people, to engage people in the learning process. But you have to have resources underneath it. If you want to dig deeper and find knowledge specific to your topic, you have to basically give pathway. I provide resources customized to each step. And also I would like to add that I did develop literature review design tool, thanks to Iván, using Hopscotch model and using a form that says questions, answers from audience. This model allows you to choose a particular literature review design, systematic review, integrative review, and I already started using this model during my summertime literature review bootcamp with now students from nursing program, graduate nursing program. So it does work, and I really encourage methodologies from other colleges to engage with us, and we can design similar to adjust to their research design or design popular in their discipline.
So I would also say that Olga is obviously very humble, but she's instrumental not only for the lab, but also for our graduate students. I mean, she develops modules in collaboration with faculty that are then integrated in our D2L courses. And for instance, the last addition to Hopscotch, as Olga was mentioning, is this tool to guide our students in the development of the literature reviews for their capstone projects, for their dissertations, for any research study. Actually, faculty are also using it.
Yeah, it's great. You know, one of the things, when I used to advise master's students in capstone projects long ago, I used to, you know, tell them about the old days where we would physically walk into a library and go to the card catalog and look for our sources. And that was a challenge, of course, but now I think the challenge that the students have is equally as tough, which is there's so much out there. And so I can imagine that a tool like this really helps them, you know, guide where they're looking for the sources.
That's what we try to do. We try to show them a path that makes sense, but also incorporating all the resources that are available on campus. Because we have tons of resources, and the problem is selecting the right ones.
That's right.
So Olga, she's the curator of those resources, and also she creates research guides that we incorporate, in this case, to the lab.
Excellent. All right, we have a couple of questions that are coming in. The first one is, how does the lab make research more fun and collaborative?
Well, many times when our students heard the word methodology, they start shaking, right? And many of us, that's the experience we had when we were in graduate college, that research methods, it's not fun, but it could be fun. I mean, we could learn research methods playing Hopscotch. That's what we try to do here. We could learn research methods using augmented reality resources that make things a little easier. For instance, one of the tools we use here in the lab that it's part of Hopscotch, it's a little tool that helps generate visual representations of the key components of our research designs. So we have recently acquired a small vertical robot that it's a printer that prints in the dry erase walls your design as many times as you want. So we are trying to incorporate aspects to make things I would say better, but at least not as hard as they used to be when studying research methods.
I can add something.
Please.
The whole lab, the virtual environment, it's playful environment. Gamification is a key in any education. It doesn't matter if you teach second grade or you teach more mature students. And if you can look around, I'm not sure if you can look around, but maybe there.
Well, we could show them.
The furniture, the cover, we pick up differently than game on.
It's a beautiful space. And how did you get the space?
Well, because we have an amazing leadership team here in the College of Education, and they were supporting us from the very beginning. Last year, the lab was downstairs in a smaller place, and after using the lab for a year, we realized that a bigger space would be much better, particularly for developing collaborative activities with the groups of students that come here. So the Dean of the College of Education was thinking in different spaces, and we were having a look at this space, and we were able to get funding for the new furniture. And what we have here, it's an amazing space to work.
Yeah, I would like to work in that space too. So how have you been impacted by, how has the lab been impacted by COVID?
Well, actually, we cannot have many groups here because of COVID, because of the number of courses that are online right now. But we've had a few groups because this is a big space, and using masks and being very careful, we can work here. But also our students can use the virtual version of the lab. Actually, we just finished developing a brand new virtual space for the lab that it's pretty easy to embed in D2L courses. So we are trying to put emphasis in the virtual lab.
Something just happened to my computer. Camera just went in. Is it better if I questions and members?
I'm not sure if someone is trying to ask a question. I cannot hear well.
Can you hear me?
No, I cannot hear you.
Okay, I'm gonna run to another computer. Going to ask a question on it, and then I'll go to another computer.
Yes, I think we are having some technical issues. If someone has a question, maybe you can open your microphone and ask directly while Dr. Corso fixes the issue that it seems she's having.
Hi, Yvonne. This is Adrian. A great job, great overview. I was wondering if you might explain to colleagues maybe a professional development opportunity that you might provide to the whole campus for colleges who want to begin accessing this resource even directly. I know we've had some conversations about that, and that might be beneficial to the group that's present.
Yeah. Actually, in addition to the virtual services and the open hours, we are offering more individualized services for individual faculty, or particularly for department or colleges that are interested in using the lab with their students, and also for research purposes with their faculty. So if you go to our website, irml.kennesaw.edu, under services that we provide, we describe in detail, and there are different packets of services that we are offering right now. So we can help, as I was mentioning before, we can help group of researchers in analyzing data, in generating a well-informed research design. We can help departments to embed the Interactive Research Methods Lab in their D2L courses. So there are a number of services that we are currently offering.
Terrific. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Adrian.
Great. So my video just decided that it was tired. It was the end of the day and it was just going to give out, but just came back on. Okay, I think we have, do we have another question here? How about from the audience? Christine, did I see you coming on to ask a question?
Oh, sorry, I'm trying to get in my car, so I was handing off to the phone.
Okay, no worries. I don't know if we asked this question. What's the benefit of using the space in lieu of following along with the model through the website?
Well, that's a very, very good question. Actually, at the very beginning, when we were developing Hopscotch, we never thought in the possibility of having a physical space, replicating the Hopscotch metaphor. It was in 2017 when we conducted a formal evaluation of Hopscotch with users that they let us know that they were missing a social space to discuss the different decisions that they were having to make in each step of the process. So actually, the idea behind the Interactive Research Methods Lab comes from users of Hopscotch that were claiming having some sort of a more socially mediated space.
Okay, I don't know if I asked this question or not, because I've lost track here, but what happens when members of your research team that are working on a mutual topic have different worldviews?
Well, actually, that's the very first step of the process, and we believe it's very important to define who you are as a researcher and the way in which you understand how things work in our world and how knowledge is constructed. And depending on who you are and how you see how knowledge is constructed, you should go for one type of research design or another. For instance, those following a positivistic or a post-positivistic worldview most of the times tend to go for quantitative research designs. Others with a more pragmatic worldview tend to follow mixed methods approach. And those following, for instance, a constructivistic or transformative approach to research, they usually conduct qualitative research studies. We believe it's important to know who we are as researchers, because in the end, we are the main research instruments.
You know, I don't know if you have a formal relationship with the graduate college, and I'm not sure if the dean is on or not, but I think that you need to be in front of all the graduate students that we have, like right up front as part of their education.
That would be great.
We have a hand that's up. Go ahead.
Iván, it's Anate. Could you explain how students write their ideas at each hopscotch step in those decals, and then they can discuss them collaboratively as a group? And then the printer prints out the design and they have all those workspaces, and then the data analysis area, how they can sit at that one little couch area and analyze data.
Sure. Thank you, Anate. So as you can see behind me, we have decals on the walls, one for each of the steps of the process. So students can interact with a little augmented reality code that is in the lower side of the decals. Actually, we provide them with iPads, and they can scan those augmented reality codes and start interacting with the resources that we have produced for each of the steps. So based on those resources, there is an augmented reality avatar that it's going to start asking them questions, and they have to respond to those questions. And they have two different options to respond to the questions. The first one is typing the response in their iPads, and the second one is taking a picture of the notes they've been writing down on the dry erase walls of the lab. In both cases, the system collects the answers and they are projected in a virtual wall in the front part of the room, so we can discuss the decisions they've made in each of the steps afterwards. We also have behind me, this is a little spot we have for data analysis. That is a touch screen, and it's very helpful, particularly for those of us analyzing qualitative data and generating crazy network views, connecting all the concepts emerging from the data. It's a little spot over here. And as Anate was mentioning, we also have a vertical printer to print the research designs generated after the whole process is over. So we can also discuss them in groups.
Thank you. Looks like there's a question from Cameron Coates.
Hey, Ivan. I was the one who asked about the different worldviews. So I was referring to you have a singular research team, and they have different worldviews, which drives the methods that they use. But then they're all on the same project. So, you know, what do they do in terms of methods that might be contradictory towards each other, or are all these methods just complementary, and would they just throw all those methods in together?
That's a very, very good question. Actually, after having reflected on the worldview each member of that research team is bringing to the table, which we believe it's very important, in the second step, we will have to develop a set of goals for the study. And those goals, in addition to the analysis of the worldviews that researchers will be bringing to the table, are going to be instrumental in deciding which particular type of research design to follow. For instance, I can give you an example. In our own research team, we have researchers bringing different worldviews. We have some researchers bringing post-positivistic approaches to research, others bringing a transformative approach, others bringing a constructivistic approach. In our last studies, for instance, we've gone for mixed methods approaches because it's the best way of giving everybody voice.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So in the processes that you're talking about, where it can be virtual, have you had international teams working together and developing research methods?
Yes, actually, we've been collaborating with groups of faculty in Colombia, in Ecuador, in Spain, in Thailand, and of course here in the States. Because one of the key features of the virtual lab is a 360 virtual tour that replicates exactly what we have here in the lab. So if you go to the website under instructional resources, the very first site would be the 360 virtual tour. And you can interact with the augmented reality codes as if you were here. There are also links to resources in case you don't want to use augmented reality, because you could also, if you like having like immersive experiences, you can have like a 3D set of goggles and you would be like immersed in the lab. Actually, we've been able to generate the 360 virtual tour here with the help of the School of Art and Design. They've been very helpful with bringing their equipment here and helping us make it happen.
Also, I tried to collect open access resources. Ivan mentioned open science. It means we need to join the movement to make not just scientific results open and accessible to everybody, but also methodology. There is a collection repository of protocols, for example, and every stage to process, data sets open. We try to open the whole process, research, from data collection, data analysis, final report.
Exactly.
Thank you. We've got time for a couple more questions. There's one that's come in from Tris. For those faculty interested in conducting research in the scholarship of teaching and learning in their classrooms, but who are not educational researchers by training, what would be the best way to connect with the resources from your lab?
Actually, I would ask them, I mean, we are in the College of Education, and scholarship of teaching and learning is part of what we do here. So we understand pretty well how to help faculty conducting scholarship of teaching and learning in other areas. And actually, we have already done it with some faculty in engineering, some faculty in the College of Human Sciences. They have already used our resources to help them.
How many publications have you produced from all of this work you've been doing, Iván?
Okay, I mean, in the very first year of the process was devoted to the development of everything. So in the last four and a half years, we have produced 5 journal articles. We have also disseminated our work in 3 invited keynotes in international conferences. We have also presented our work in 10 conferences, and in early 2021, we are going to publish a book that is using the structure of Hopscotch to propose ways of generating well-informed research designs. So it's a total of 19, 20 something research products in the last 4 and a half years.
Fantastic. Cameron, you still have your hand up. Would you like to ask another question?
Yes, one more question. So it seems to me that post-positivism and pragmatism lend themselves more to the sciences, and the transformative and constructivism sort of outlook lend themselves more to social sciences or the humanities. So the question is that reasonable? And if yes, then the second question is, are there cases where that is not the case? Do you have cases where you have people who are in STEM who would adopt the sort of constructivism sort of outlook or the transformative outlook? Because I feel like if I did that and I went to a conference with my research, I might be laughed out the room.
Yes, I mean, we are always fighting because in many cases, people believe that qualitative research or even mixed methods research is like soft research, but we are trying to say the opposite. I mean, as long as your study is rigorous, well-designed, and well-informed, you would be conducting solid research. So trying to respond to your questions, for instance, in psychology, in educational psychology, we have researchers coming from a very positivistic approach to research, using experimental designs, correlational designs. But we also have researchers in the field of psychology and educational psychology who are starting to use research methods coming from a more interpretive tradition, more related to qualitative research. So I wouldn't say that everyone working in sciences is going to bring a post-positivistic or positivistic approach to research. It depends a lot. I've been working with people in the fields of mathematics, computing, software engineering, who are bringing a very transformative approach to their studies, working with underserved populations, and they are conducting mixed methods or even qualitative studies.
Okay.
There is an explosion of interdisciplinary research.
Exactly.
And I know Dr. Kor's office initiative about interdisciplinary research and how many projects we have in this university that try to break this divide, artificial divide in my mind.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Very good question.
Yeah, very good question. Okay, well, we are just about out of time, so I want to give you the last word, Iván, if you have anything that you want to share with us before I wrap it up.
Well, I would like to thank you, Phaedra, and the Office of Research for this opportunity. It's been really good for us. to disseminate what we do here and for others to better understand what we are doing. And just, I would like to invite all of you to come to the lab. Remember that we have open hours Mondays and Fridays from 10 to 1. Or if those hours don't work well for you, please send me an email and I'll be more than glad to have you here, show you what we have, and even have more of these type of interesting discussions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you to Olga and to the other members of your team for all the great work that you've been doing. I hope to see you all here again in 2 weeks' time. We have another interesting presentation that I think is going to be a nice handoff from what we just heard. We'll be featuring Greg Phelan and Heidi Holmes from the Coles College of Business, and they will be talking about their individual projects that are focused on education economics with the goal of maximizing student learning and achievement. So I think a very nice handoff from you to them. So on behalf of the Office of Research, we want to say thank you, and we hope you all have a wonderful and safe weekend, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Thank you all.
Thank you.